My name is Courtney Lineberry, and today I will be speaking to you about the Great Depression and the impact it had on many aspects of life then and now. Have you ever wondered how the Great Depression affected the daily lives of Americans all over the country? With help from my grandmother and research, I hope to inform you about the Great Depression, when and how it happened, who it affected and how it affected them, and the resolutions that were sought to end the catastrophe. I also want to relate events that happened then to those happening today. First things first, the Great Depression began on October 29, 1929, otherwise known as Black Tuesday, and lasted up until about 1939. So here's how it got started. In 1920, the stock market was booming. So between 1928 and 1929, when the stocks plummeted, the Federal Reserve tried to discourage any speculation and in turn spent money way too frivolously. Howard Hoover, which was the current president at that time, was not well liked, but an election was up and coming and greatly anticipated. In 1932, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, also known as FDR, beat Hoover by a long shot. In 1933, the FDR administration proposed social and economic reform by the name of the New Deal. The bill was hastily put together, which sparked mixed feelings by Americans all over, much like the mixed feelings of Americans today with the Obama health care plan. Many Americans say that the plan is being passed through Congress too hastily and with little clarity. By 1933, half of the U.S. banks had failed. My grandmother remembers her father saying that the banks had busted and that her grandfather had lost $400 in the bank that he had invested, which was a lot of money then. The Depression affected the banks, the stock market, and the government, but you better believe it affected the people. Unemployment rates soared. Hundreds of thousands of Americans searched for shelter, work, and food. 12 to 15 Americans were out of work. That's 1 out of every 4. And it's depicted in these pictures by the bread lines, the soup kitchens, what was called the Hoovervilles, which was where Americans all over the world set up shacks, and they and all their belongings had to be stored in there. And churches, community organizations housed as many Americans as they could, just giving them a place to sleep. Also, farmers had to give up their land, their crops, to evacuation cells because they couldn't afford it. My grandmother remembers in the early 1930s stamps being required to buy sugar, shoes, gas, and food, and only a certain amount allotted to each family. She remembers her mother making her and her sister dresses out of chicken feed sacks. And this is actually an old flour bag, but it's the texture of what a chicken feed sack would feel like. It's very coarse and not comfortable at all. Also, they sewn together socks to make mops. So let's go back for just a minute and discuss how this impacted the government in a little more detail. There was a second New Deal coming, and it sparked even more controversy than the first. One aspect of this second New Deal was the Social Security Act of 1935. This was created to provide insurance for the aged, the unemployed, and the disabled, and it was funded by tax on workers, which sparked mixed feelings by many Americans because when it came to people's money, they wanted to know where it was going. And that also brings up a point that can be related to the Obama plan. A lot of Americans around the world are weary of it because they don't know exactly how much of their tax money is going to be put into the plan. However, when men and women entered the war after the bombing of Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, things skyrocketed. The job market increased in the United States because we were making things for other countries. The Great Depression was officially over. After researching the Great Depression and talking with my grandmother about its impact on her and her family, I think everyone should be knowledgeable of important historical events and what impact they have on our country. It seems ironic. Learning more about this historical event has opened up my interest to current events taking place in our world and country. And I must say, it's nice to know what's going on, especially when it's going to affect me and my family. Thank you.